Man, this is a telling interview. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Now, right now, as I'm recording this, they are in session for this motion about the cameras in the courtroom in the Idaho case. Now, we know that this is like the only thing that the two sides, the defense for Brian Kohberger and the state, agree on is that they do not want the cameras, okay? They do not want the cameras at trial. The families, at least as far as the Kernodals and the Goncalveses, who also speak for the Mogans, at least that's what that's what we're under the understanding of. They want the cameras in the courtroom. Now, Brian Enton posted an interview a couple of hours ago on his Twitter account that he did, well, X, whatever, it's Twitter, oh well, that he did with Steve Goncalves and Shannon Gray. Now, I'm not going to play the entire thing. It's like almost 18 minutes long, but there are a lot of things in here that Steve says that we're about to go over. Now, I'm going to figure out what's going on with the motion for the cameras at some point after I get off of work today, but I'm doing this right now on my break, so I'm going to try to do this as quick as I can. There's some really telling information in this, so I'm just going to go ahead and roll it.
The community needs to determine who this individual is. You cannot ask for the community to do the death penalty without their vision, without their support, without their understanding of all the aspects of the case. It's more than just the jury members, it's the community. It's a message for everybody to understand. In Idaho, this is how we work. We're not the same as Chicago. We're not the same as Miami and New York and LA. This is how Idaho perceives a major incident, and this is how we react to it. We have the resources to do that. So I don't know what removing the cameras really provides other than a gap. And we've had a gag order in this case, and that didn't work out well. You hear about other people who've been placed under a gag order. It doesn't seem that the Constitution works well with this constitutional time of when it's okay to speak about. I don't know. I don't want to say the truth, but I want to say when people are going to speak about a case and let the audience decide what the truth is. Gag order is an old version of controlling the narrative. You can't control it anymore with social media, TikToks, and like I've said before, it's not NBC, ABC, and these three medias that control this narrative. The whole world sees everything. So pretending like you can control, and what are you trying to control?
Now, to me, without a doubt, this statement is targeted straight at the justice system, straight at the courts, straight at the prosecutors. And honestly, from what you're going to hear later on come out of his mouth, straight at the defense as well. And also the cops, everyone involved in this entire thing. What are you trying to control? What narrative are you trying to control? If you have your man, if you know for sure that the man that you have now facing technically, a firing squad at this point because of the way this is going, what are you trying to control if you know that you got your guy? And I love the fact that Steve is bringing all of these things up because it shows that, you know, yes, this case dramatically will affect Brian Kohberger's life for the rest of forever. Okay. But what's already been done has affected these families' lives already for the rest of forever. So we're seeing him coming at this honestly really rationally, with as emotional as he has to be, because you guys need to remember he didn't just lose Kaylee. He lost Maddie. Those families lost two people. It's like I said, it's really insane the way that this turned out, because it's like Maddie and Kaylee were like soulmates in life, and then Xana and Ethan were like soulmates in love. And so these two families, like these four families in sets, are grieving two different people at the same time, while also congruently grieving the entire situation as a whole, just in their own ways. It's such a tragic basis to this entire thing. But he's correct here. What narrative are you trying to control? If everything is clear cut and dry, you've got your guy, we have all of the evidence, why are you hiding anything? Why are we doing this? Why all this secrecy? He's 1 million quadrillion, whatever that weird number is they had in the documents for the DNA. He's that percent correct on this.
And what are you trying to control? Are we just displaying truth in action? To me, the courtroom is truth in action. So why do we hide that?
Were you surprised, Steve, to see the prosecution also now say that they don't want cameras?
I want to say yes, but I'm shocked at how many times the prosecution and the defendant are on the same page.
Now, as far as I know, from everything that we've seen, I only know of the two sides agreeing on the camera situation and the gag order. But I also know that the Goncalveses don't see things the same way on either one of those things. Now, Steve does allude in here that there are several things that he will speak about if he has to. But other than the cameras and the gag order, is there anything else that you guys remember that these two sides are agreeing on here? Because I honestly only remember the two.
But I'm shocked at how many times the prosecution and the defendant are on the same page. And then there's some certain things that they have in common, and they rise up. They rise up over and over and over. I won't say them now, but if they keep rising up over my daughter's truth and justice, then I will just call them out on those commonalities that they have. And I mean, I just want a camera. I just want the truth. I just want everyone to see what's going on. That makes me radical. Okay, I'll live with that.
Now, the next few minutes is Brian Enton asking Shannon Gray a few questions. And what we learn in this is that the families were not asked about how they felt about the cameras. Now, the only part of that I'm going to play for you is this one.
As a former prosecutor, and we always listen to the victims. A lot of times the victims have an opportunity to speak to us about resolutions, how the case might be resolved.
Now, for any of you that have followed my story here of late, we know from my very own personal experience that on the forefront, that statement is a damn lie. Well, yes, the prosecution is supposed to care. In reality, them asking you as the victim, or in this case, as the victim's family, what your considerations are or how you feel about as far as you want justice to go. It was like I mentioned in my situation. I was contacted by the prosecutor at this point about 4 weeks ago and told that this person was going to be going in front of a grand jury, that they would most likely be getting 5 to 10 years for the charges they have, that we have now a protective order against this person for, and asked how far I was willing to go, if I'd be willing to testify, other people would be willing to testify, make statements, all these things. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yes. 3 weeks later, they turned around without my knowledge. I had no notifications that he was even going to be having a court date. They turned around without even letting me know anything and let him plead guilty to all 3 charges and let him out that very next morning on 8 years probation. Time served. So while yes, you would want to believe that the state gives a damn about its citizens, that the prosecution has the victim in the situation and or the victim's family's best interests and motive and emotions and mentalities and wants and needs at heart. They don't. Now, in my case, I did not keep quiet. I was very loud. And I made an emotional reaction happen with the prosecutor, who made a very big mistake in the way that they handled our case. I cannot blame for a single second the Goncalves family, as much as I have made statements about some of the things that they have said, because it has raised a lot of speculation. It has caused a lot of issues. It has caused more chaos. In reality, that's not even a fault of their own, because they put a front, honestly, out there that they knew more, had more information, had more insight. Okay. But now that we are, 2 months shy of a year of this incident, we're learning that the families really don't know jack shit. And that's horrible. There's been misconceptions literally in every single turn of this case. But it was actually pretty disheartening to hear that after all of the motions that the families already had with the courts and about the gag order and about this and about that, that even with this situation right now, the family had to come out on their own. The families had to come out on their own and make a statement regarding what they want for the cameras, what they want in this situation. Because no one gave a damn to pick up the phone and just ask them. It's typical, but it's disgusting.
That's why the statement was put out by the family.
Now, what I'm about to play you here is Steve's answer for what exactly the statement means by the case having so much secrecy, all the secrets. Pay very close attention to what he says here. Pay very close attention.
I've talked with multiple family members, and I want to be respectful for everybody's viewpoint. And there is some fear that the cameras will record things that are gross. They're not ready to have their friends and family members come to them and say, "Hey, did you hear about this or that?" And I understand that. I really do.
Now, the first time I heard this statement, I kind of froze. Because if you really think about what he just said, that wouldn't make this case so simple. It wouldn't make it to where Brian Kohberger was some sort of psychopath, stalker, obsessed weirdo who went into this house and took out all these people literally for his own wants that had nothing to do with them. What would need to come out in court that would make families hesitant, that would make family members hesitant, that would make witnesses hesitant, if it was just that cut and dry? Now, this statement is most likely going to cause a crap ton of chaos and speculation. But that's not new in this case. So let's continue.
So they come to me, and I reflect what they're saying. I absorb it, and then I also tell them from a legal perspective, from my lawyer counsel. It's hard to really argue what a camera is going to be in a courtroom negatively. We're here asking for somebody in the community to judge this individual. So let's just hang it out there. Let's show every aspect and every fact that I feel is a fact. The community should agree that that is a fact, whether it's DNA or whatever it is.
Now, again, I will say I am really glad that this is like the stance and the way that Steve is coming about this entire situation, because he doesn't want, as much as he wants justice for his daughter, for Maddie, for all of the victims and all of the families, he obviously wants it to be clear, concise, transparent, truthful, correct. And he wants the community that he knows now has the burden of making this decision to be given every opportunity to do so the right way. And now I understand that the entire point of a jury is so that they are not tainted. They really have no idea what's going on with the case. It's pretty unusual, in my opinion, that you will be able to find someone this day and age that doesn't know anything about the case. And I know that there's some people that have been super obsessed with cases that have lied to then get on juries, and then there's mistrials and there's problems. So I don't know how simple this jury process is going to be to begin with. But on top of that, the jury is going to be making a decision right then and there, regardless of if there's cameras in the courtroom or not. The cameras being in the courtroom isn't going to do nothing at all to the jury. So I feel like, at least in my opinion, with the way that I know that part of it, I think Steve may be coming at this with, there's a decision that needs to be made, and people in the community are going to have to make that decision. So everything that's being given to them in order to make that decision should be also given to the public to show what these members of the community had to look at so that everything's fair and even. I don't know if that's making sense.
So, but I still respect all these family members and their own individual processing of their preparedness for what's about to happen. And it's terrible. You really cannot prepare yourself to understand that the legal system is going to drag all of us through the mud. And
The legal system is going to drag all of us through the mud. My brain is just circling with all kinds of different things, from videos that I've watched, theories that have come out, information that I've been emailed, information that I've been texted, so many things that I haven't spoken on because none of them have any backing, at least to me. Nothing that I've been shown anyway. But just these statements about family and people being worried about what's going to come out, which is the reason they don't want cameras, is insane. It's just so curious. So curious.
and that's the only way you can get to the truth. So if I'm going to go through the mud, I'd rather have all the witnesses that I can possibly have than to create a narrow bubble there in Latal County and Moscow and say that, I want to have the support of everyone, that the justice was put in place and the evidence was that clear.
Okay, this is where it gets real serious. I mean, it's already serious. Okay, there's already issues with the justice system, in this case itself. But now the town and the college gets brought up in conversation. Steve is literally holding nothing back anymore, you guys. Listen to this.
The reason I'm talking to you right here, right now, is because there is capital business decisions being made on top of justice systems. So no, there is no way to pretend like these all equal and they all equate to the same motivation. Somebody's going to lose, and it isn't going to be my daughter. I will sit here. I will speak to every single microphone, every single camera before I go to court and after I go to court. If you force me to do it, I'd rather the courtroom speak for itself than me. I don't want to speak. actually quite a private man. But if you force me to protect my daughter, then I will speak at every moment that I have to do just that and protect her. And that's what we're doing today. We're protecting the truth. We're protecting where the truth is going to go. The the truth needs to be in that courtroom, and a camera will never, ever hide the truth. So why remove it? Why do you remove a camera? Well, maybe it'll protect you from, like me, I misspoke. I might say something wrong, but I'm a father. I can deal with that. I can The repercussions of that is fine. But some people seem to be scared of the repercussion of their mistake. And I say just embrace it and let the community decide what the truth is. We either got the guy or we don't. It's pretty simple.
We either got the guy or we don't. It's pretty simple. And I think that that's their whole point here. Like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, if it's so clear cut, dry, precise, no issues, why do you want no eyes on you? Why the secrecy? Why the gag order? Why do both sides want everything kept quiet? Why do both sides want the cameras removed? Who's really in control? What narrative are you protecting? His questions are so beyond valid. His statements are so valid.
You give up all your notions of normal when something like this happens. And you hope that your community feels for you and embraces you, hugs you, and says, "We're going to take care of this." You hope that your community says, "We're here for you and we're going to make this right." And that's why I'm there for them to have the vision and the cameras, and everybody needs to be in that room because they're the ones that are wrapping their arms around me, Chrissy, and our children. They're saying, we're gonna do, like, this is an outsider. He came here to hunt these dumb hillbillies and teach us about uh what he said was like cloud computing and forensic. He thought he could come here and hunt dumb hillbillies.
Now, in my last video, did I not show you guys kind of like the way that I interpreted Brian Koberger's little application thing for the internship? I felt like he really did feel like he was going to be giving the police department some sort of gift with his presence, with his knowledge of cloud-based forensics. And again, like I said in that video, that could just be my internal assumption just based off of, I don't know if it's arrogance. I don't know if it's confidence. I mean, obviously he knows that he's smart, but that can also be somebody's downfall, is thinking that they are too smart and not taking the extra precautions and the extra steps and the extra thought processes that they should, because they think that they're just right off the bat. So they become careless because they just automatically assume, because of how smart they're constantly being told they are, that they're going to be making the right decisions, and they don't stop and think anymore, if that makes sense. So it's interesting that he says this, because it's literally kind of like exactly the way that I interpreted that whole thing too. Even with us having that very similar reaction to that entire situation with the internship, that doesn't really mean a lot when it comes to innocence or guilt. Because, I mean, you take one look at, let's just say, just Maddie and Kaylee, and they're far from hillbillies. They're blonde, beautiful. They have college educations. They have futures. They're far from hillbillies. Far from hillbillies. And especially in that generation, I mean, even, and take this however you want it, even the hillbilliest of hillbilly kids of that generation know how to work social media and know about the cloud and know about how all of that stuff works. So I don't really know if that would have really been the intention. Maybe for the police department, being small town police department, not a lot of resources. But I mean, if the community dug up all the information about the Idaho State Lab having all of this, grant money to do all of this genealogical work to help solve cases and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure Brian Koberger would have known that. That probably would have been something that was definitely spoken about probably multiple times at the school that he was a TA at. So I don't know. It's not like he would not know that they didn't have some sort of advances. They didn't have things that could get him caught up if he was to do something stupid. I don't know. Okay.
And he could get away with this. And now that we have him caught, we need to be able to hold him accountable, and the community needs to be a part of that. And taking cameras out of there makes it a double standard. You can't say that they're accountable, yet they're not a part of it. In some ways, we're in a pause of a movie. Like, you can just go forward, but you just got to keep rewinding because you don't know what you've missed and all these facts. So it's no way to live. It's no way to be. And we try to treat our children different than what we're going through. It's my responsibility to hold this individual accountable for what he's done to my family. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking. That's why this is happening right here, right now. It's not because I care about anything other than justice. And that's why I'm pushing for cameras. That's why I'm pushing for this, because I'm a biased man. I'm a biased father. So let everybody have a part in this. And then it's a lot easier for us to have a conviction that we all embrace. And then the rest of me and my family don't have to hear the haunting effects of messages saying that, if there would have been cameras in that courtroom, it would have been a different outcome. If we would have had truth and transparency in this case, if it wasn't all about business, then there would have been a different outcome. So,
Okay, see, now I've recorded how to do this little part a couple of times because I was trying to figure out the way to word this. And this could be because I'm on YouTube, I'm a creator, I see a lot more than what someone watching this interview on News Nation has seen. And you, obviously watching this on a YouTube channel, will know exactly what I'm talking about, that people that just watch cable TV won't understand. I almost feel for a little bit of this, he's talking about how a lot of people do believe that Brian is innocent. There's a lot of people like myself that are looking at this case, and some, not like myself, are completely convinced 1,000,000,000%, and there's nothing you can say to them, that he is innocent. And the same goes for he is guilty. And the truth, sorry to tell both sides, is that we don't have everything that we need in order to make that choice right now. And if you are already making that choice, I don't really have words for that, honestly. Now, I know, and I've already admitted to this, that in the beginning when they arrested him, I was right there holding a torch. Hell yeah, they got him. I am so excited because this was horrible and this is finally going to be coming to an end. And then getting into the case the way that we do here on the interwebs started unfolding things that were not computing. They weren't. So that's what led to so many people on the Brian is innocent train. So when listening to some of this, it's almost as if they want the cameras out there so that everyone who does think that Brian is innocent, if he is found guilty, they can't try to run their mouths, blame the families, blame anything other than the evidence if the case does not go the way that they think the cases should go based on incomplete puzzles. But then he mentions business. And that goes back to whenever he was talking about the town itself and the college and how he feels about all of that and what they actually play in this. There is a lot to this case. And I mean, honestly, regardless of which theory ends up being correct and however this ends up going, anyone who's been asking questions thus far have been correct in asking questions, because there's obvious issues in not just the justice system and the way that this case was possibly mishandled in its investigation itself, but how a lot of that, if not all of that, could be contributed to the location and the people that are in charge of said location and the things in that location, if you get my drift. So it's more like the families want the truth out there because they almost feel as if the town and the college itself is going to try to get this to go whichever way they want it to go, regardless of what the truth is. Now, I don't know how Steve feels about the suspect being the guy. Even just in this interview, it's very hard to decipher the way he feels about if he is the guy or not, because he says stuff like, if it's so concrete and cut and dry and transparent and everything's correct, then what are you hiding? What narrative are you holding? Making it seem as if he has a lot of questions into the validity of their statements that they're making against Brian and how this whole thing is going. But then says that, he's going to hold him accountable for what he did to his family. And then goes back to stating, if you got the guy, then you got the guy. If you got the guy, then what's the problem? There's issues with the way this case is being handled, and I don't trust the way that the community is going to accept what's going on. And obviously, you're going to want the support of the community around you in such a high-profile case. So this is almost a little bit almost like a personal protection type situation too, which I also understand. Because the families don't want to be bombarded by a bunch of people telling them all kind of crazy stuff after this trial is over, regardless of the way that it goes. Because regardless of if he's found guilty or innocent, there's going to be a rush of something, some bullshit that somebody is going to have to deal with. And it's usually the families. Oh, wow, what a roller coaster.
You only have one moment to make a statement, and that's the moment we're in right now. And why we're doing this, Shannon told me we had a couple of interviews. I don't keep track of this. He keeps track of this for me because there is a gap. It's a gap in leadership. And the leadership, I want them to hold everyone accountable and do all this. And when they don't, our phones are being right. People are calling us because somebody else isn't picking up the phone. That's really why we get involved. I really don't want to be the guy talking to you, to be honest. For me, Kaylee would have expected me to be her father. Not 1%, not 10, not 50% of the time. Like, I handed off to a judge and a prosecutor to be the father. I'm going to be her father 100% of the time. And when I tell whoever did this, you picked the wrong family, it has to be backed by action. And I'm that action. I'm that person saying, I'm going to be the voice that doesn't go away, even if both sides want that voice to go away.
Okay, so I'm going to download this video to post it in about 5 minutes. And as of right now, there has been no decision. They are in arguments at this very moment about the cameras. The most recent live tweet from Brian Enton is that the Media Coalition is speaking. So I want to know what you guys think about this interview. I think it was extremely telling of a lot of things that a lot of people have already been questioning. And whenever they finally make a decision on these cameras, you guys will hear from me again. But until then, see y'all.